Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. What a beautiful sight we have here today. Ethereum 3816. This is getting pretty crazy. Ethereum in a literal straight line up for the last 2 weeks or so, trying desperately to get to $4,000 per coin. It has blown past all of my expectations and targets in the short term without anything even remotely resembling a pullback. Let's see how long this rally can last. In the meantime, dominance has been falling off an absolute cliff. This is the alt season that we have all been patiently waiting for. Dominance down to 60.5% for Bitcoin. The same week that Ethereum is up like 25%, Bitcoin is actually down 2%, which is not anything to really be concerned about because it's holding very strong here at $118,000 per coin. And today we're getting a little bit of life breathed into Solana, which has been lagging behind for the last 2 weeks, but it marginally missed $200 about 30 minutes ago and is having just a little tiny pullback as people probably take some profits on this crazy push. Why start like Powell? Good afternoon. Because we're afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are making money. We're making good money, and things are moving really nicely. If we go over and look at decentralized science, as a function of total market cap, we are up to 715 million, yet again, rapidly encroaching in on that $1 billion market cap that we have been patiently waiting to get back to. I believe we peaked somewhere around 1.5 billion back in January, so we're still down roughly 50% from there, but things are recovering really quickly because we had hit all the way down at like 400 million. So we've almost doubled in market cap over the last week or two. So things are looking good, guys. Hopefully you guys are feeling good. We're going to go through a bunch of different DeSci news and posts that I've been seeing across X pertaining to decentralized science. We're also going to talk about literally anything that you guys want to talk about. Do we think Ethereum will hit $4,000 this week? I'm going to start a poll to start things off here. Start a poll. We do ETH 4K this week? Question mark. Yes or no? Ethereum $4,000 this week. I think if we have anything resembling the last week, then yes, without a doubt, we will see Ethereum at $4,000. If we see something resembling last week, actually, we'll see Ethereum up at $4,800, give or take. It pushed 26% last week, so if we get the same type of move this week, we'll have Ethereum up at $4,800 per ETH, which would be battling to get a new all-time high. Who knows? We're just here for the ride, though. We are indeed here for the ride. If you go look at ETH BTC, it is having a crazy strong rally and has actually just had a weekly close above one of the main moving averages that we like to pay attention to. You come down to the daily and we are above all moving averages without even so much as a retest on that 200-day moving average. So Ethereum season is on in full tilt, and hopefully we can get it to continue so that they will bleed some of the ETH profits into some of our ETH altcoins. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I think happens every time. And so I'm excited. Good morning, Beagle. Good morning, Zaj. What's good, Wild Africa? Welcome in, C90. Stare. How is everyone doing? Hopefully you guys had a fantastic weekend. I went kayaking yesterday and it was an absolute blast. Amanda and I went out on the river. We got hit with some random rapids that we were not necessarily expecting, and it was a good time. But we're back here, ready to be grounded, ready to make some money. So if we go look at some of the bio IP tokens on molecule.xyz, you guys know these are my favorite lotto bags, if you want to call them that. They are the microcap watch list that I think has the highest potential as an overarching theme, right? Obviously there's some other microcaps out there that I think are going to outperform and that are not on this list, but broadly speaking, I think this is a really good list to have your eyes on. And so far, we've seen now the only one that's under $100,000 market cap is the brand equity behind SciDAO. $43,000. Everything else has now gone above $100,000 in market cap. So we're seeing them already start to double up on their price action here, which is really good. we're seeing a lot of potential still, because overall the market has gone under, like, without noticing these overall. And that's because DeSci is one of the last things that really does end up pumping in this cycle. At least that's been the play the last 3 times we've seen a move in the market. The market moves like crazy. We see Ethereum go up, we see Bitcoin go up, we see Solana go up, and then they kind of stall out for a week or two. And during that stall period is when we see all the altcoins go crazy. And towards the end of the altcoins going crazy, people rush over into decentralized science. And so that's what we're waiting patiently for here. First step, Ethereum needs to cool off. But we don't want Ethereum to cool off until it is ready to cool off. We don't want to wish it come down prior just so that our bags will pump, because the higher this goes, the higher the rest of the altcoins can move when it's time. Smash that like button. Let's go, Steve the Canadian. W. All right. As far as Bill, yes, for some reason, somebody sold. I think it had more to do with the fact that all of the creator bid ecosystem kind of sold off last week. We saw a lot of the agents kind of cool off, and we saw a whale take profits on bid. I think the whale made, like, I think they turned like $200,000 into $1 million on this last push that just happened. So they were buying in crazy down at 3 cents, and then they took profits at 12, 15 cents, somewhere around there. You can't knock them. They made good money. I think it's a mistake, but honestly, if you make $500,000 on something, you have the right to take your profits. I honestly am waiting patiently for this cup and handle to play out on creator bid. If we go to the daily, you'll see it a little bit easier. It's pretty clear we had a cup and now it's forming the handle. And so it's now had the 2 peaks in that handle. And so maybe if it is to play out as a picture perfect cup and handle, this next push would be the one that breaks out to new highs. And the level at which this push would happen would be to the same tune as the bottom to peak there. So you're looking at, if we move this, you're looking at creator bid going up to $1.20, give or take, and it's sitting down here at 9 cents right now. So a really good move for creator bid is setting up, especially given that Tau is doing so well and the whole market's doing so well. So some of the money flowing from Tau being an AI based chain, like their entire narrative is AI, creator bid being the project, the company that's bringing AI agents to BitTensor's subnets. It just makes sense. It's like a picture perfect experience for this to absolutely rocket. We just have to wait patiently for BitTensor to gain the same type of move that Solana's having right now. That makes sense? I think it makes sense. And it is gearing up for that crazy push. So I would not be surprised to wake up one day and see BitTensor just up 20%. And when that happens, we'll know the creator bid season is among us. It is ready to go. Need Bill at 4,000. If Bill flips Ethereum, I'll give all of you guys yachts. We'll all go get yachts.
Hey, now.
What? If Bill flips Ethereum's market cap?
Oh, okay.
All right. But things are looking really good. And the goal here is to get the dashboard out to everyone by the end of this week. That's the goal. We'll see if it can happen, if it can come true, and we can stress test it. But with the news from Pump Science that July 29th is the day that they're going to open up for either open access to launch molecules on their platform, or it is the day that they're going to start launching their molecules. We don't know for sure right now, but we do see that the market's kind of gearing up for it here today, with EGS up 35%. We got Gaussy up 16%. We got ART up 8%. Riff and Euro up roughly 10% for each of them. So the market's coming back to life for Pump Science, and I would expect a lot of excitement to happen given the market conditions and given they're going to be launching all those tokens here very shortly. I told you guys that once Solana got above $200 again, we would see the Pump Science launch return. They announced it when Solana was down at $160, and I wasn't certain that we would actually make it there in time, but the market is ready to shock everyone, and we are getting a lot of strength in this market. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the momentum. Now, if we get into some of the decentralized science news, it seems that roughly 64% of you, well, not roughly, exactly 64% of you are assuming Ethereum will hit new all-time high, or hit 4,000 this week. It's only $200 off and it's been going up $100 every day. So based off that, Wednesday, we should be hitting $4,000. But we'll see how it actually ends up playing out. If we go into some of the news, I have a post here from Bioprotocol. Science is entering its agentic era, introducing the scientific AI ecosystem map. We've mapped the tools, models, and agentic frameworks powering the new substrate, they do say substrate, for bio. Built to help founders, researchers, and builders navigate the explosion in scientific AI. If we take a look at this infographic, you'll see a lot of tools and platforms already exist for AI agents, and the new age of biotech. And if we go look at some of the players here, you'll see Google has an AI co-scientist. You'll come in and be able to see they're talking about ELISA OS. They have the BioMCP, which is going to be really powerful. That BioMCP is there for AI agents to be able to conduct scientific research. We have a lot of simulated protein folding services. We have a lot of data sources and knowledge bases out there. So the landscape is set for AI agents to start playing a major role in biotech expansion. We'll see how long it takes to really get some good value out of this this new era that we're entering into. But we're already like these IP tokens here on this list are already part of it. We have Biard, right? Biard, and I just posted a very long interview, like 45-minute interview with someone from PsyDAO, the psychedelics DAO from Bioprotocol. And we talked about Biard for a minute, and literally every single day, Biard, which is an AI agent, which goes through all of the academic literature for psychedelics and how they could be used in treatments around the world for different conditions. Every single day, it's spitting out results on where to fine-tune and hyperfixate their attention on. And then it's not listed here, but PsyDAO also has the DMXE molecule, which is like a ketamine derivative for that purpose, and they're trying to bring it through FDA approval and everything. So we're seeing a huge expansion in these bio IP tokens, and I think it's going to be super, super valuable in the coming decade. Specifically in the next 3 or 4 months, I think we're going to see a huge explosion in interest in these, and then we'll see a lot of the results this time next cycle. I know nobody wants to hear that, but ultimately these are long-term cooks. These are multi-billion-dollar IP projects that you can get in at less than $1 million market cap right now, or give or take a couple $1 million, right? So this whole expansion is going to happen really quickly, and it's happening under the radar because it's something that goes over a lot of people's heads. By the time you see, just like AI was, right? When was the time to be buying some of these AI stocks? We go look at Palantir. Palantir being the poster child for artificial intelligence, because essentially what they do is equip large-scale commercial companies and governments with large language models to help them make informed decisions. The time to be scooping up stuff like Palantir, these AI revolutionary companies, was back before people understood the importance of artificial intelligence, before people even knew artificial intelligence, and I'm talking like the broad general populace. Obviously, if you were paying attention to my content over on Instagram at the time, we were talking about AI and we were talking about how powerful it was going to be back when Palantir was a $7 company, when it was a $10 stock, and now it's $160. Now everyone understands the vision for it. It's the same concept here. Bio IP tokens and just AI powered biotech expansion is not really going to be super clear to people until we start getting drugs and compounds passing FDA trials that have been curated from artificial intelligence. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. I think it's clear as day. It just takes that marker for people to really gain confidence in the movement and what's going on. Unless you come to these live streams Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we talk about all of these things. Keep you guys up to date as possible as I can do. Next up, I'm going to take a sip of water because I can feel a tickle in my throat. Which brings us to the sponsor of the video, water. Crystal clear, filtered tap water. Infused with microplastics and hormone disruption, endocrine disruptions. Okay, so Research Hub, despite the coin not doing anything in this most recent rally, is having our favorite possible setup. The fundamentals behind Research Hub are getting better. In fact, they just hit an all-time high on one of the metrics that is easiest to track, yet the coin is still sitting down here at a $43 million market cap. What metric am I talking about? Well, the number of completed peer reviews per week on Research Hub just hit an all-time high of 200 reviews last week, and that is 2 weeks in a row that they've been putting in new all-time highs. Prior to that, we didn't see a new all-time high since back here in July of last year is when we saw that crazy rally in users and peer reviewers on Research Hub. And now they had a clean consolidation where it was happening more and more and more, and the growth continues. And what's exciting about this one is we have Brian Armstrong promoting Research Hub to his massive audience back on July 19th, so 2 days ago, and he said great progress. Most people probably don't realize Research Hub has a token, which is why it's not moving, but we do realize, and eventually they will also realize. But if we go back to July of last year, we could see that Research Hub was actually at local lows. It was at the depths of a quote-unquote bear market or a major pullback for Research Hub. It was a major pullback. It was like 88% or something like that. I guess I could actually just measure it and give you guys the exact number. It was 87%, excuse me. And then they posted that they were starting to make new all-time highs in number of users, essentially. And since most of crypto is valued based off of network effect and the number of users, if that metric continues to grow, which it will, then you can reasonably assume that the token, which is a derivative of the active network effect, will also likely grow. And so the same exact setup is happening where we're at a pretty local low as the number of users continue to break out. And then we have some other interesting news here from Research Hub, and we see that they have introduced a staking yield of 3,000% APR for people that want to help support the new listing on the Aerodrome DeFi protocol, right? So now you can go buy Research Hub, Research Coin on Aerodrome, and if you want to partake in that liquidity staking, you can earn 3,000% APR on your Research Hub. A word of caution, if I must. Before you do this, we learned this the hard way with Data Lake a couple years ago, because Data Lake was offering 900% APR, and I jumped right on it. And in the span of like 2 or 3 months, I almost tripled my entire bag of Data Lake, while Data Lake went on like a 2,000% rally. Data Lake went nuts. And because of impermanent loss, I did not get to partake in a majority of that run in the bag that I had staked. So while I grew the bag, I didn't end up actually making any money off of it because Data Lake had run so aggressively, right? Does that make sense? The numbers get a little bit wonky here because at the end of the day, I didn't actually grow the bag because I was staking it and they have to balance out the pool. So like I earned like 200 or 300% on it, while if I had just held, I would have earned 1,000% or 2,000% or whatever the rally was. And so basically the takeaway that you need to understand here is that if Research Hub goes on a crazy ripper rally, then you will actually end up missing out on some of the gains by staking in here. With that being said, if Research Hub just continues to do okay or moderately okay, you'll end up making a ton of money off of the APR. So you got to balance out the risk in your own portfolio and kind of do out some of the math to see if you're willing to take the trimming of the position. You know what I mean? If you can double your position and Research Hub only goes up 50%, then you end up making extra money. But if Research Coin doubles and you double the amount of Research Coin you have, the way it works, you'll actually just end up breaking even for the most part. But you can go do your own due diligence and dig deep into it. That investor is on Instagram. I don't post on Instagram anymore, but I was on Instagram way back when I was first trying to make some content and educate people on investing in crypto. Way back, I think it was like 2021, 2020, I was making content on Instagram, but not anymore. Let's look at Palantir's chart and we'll know, because I was making content during this whole period. So 2021, I was really going hard, and then it fell, and I was posting like at least 1 or 2 videos a day on Instagram while it was falling, and then I pivoted over to TikTok and then YouTube. and X, of course, but yes. And then there was one more thing on Research Hub. Yes, Research Hub is offering nano grants, which may not sound super appealing to most people, but if you think about the agentic infrastructure that's here, the AI agents that are going to be running a lot of biodiscovery in the not too distant future, and you look at these micro grants, this type of grant system would be enough to fund a lot of AI systems and their research. It might take a couple $100 in AI credits in order to actually get a good simulated protein folding happening, but you get what I'm saying? These grants are likely more for AI systems, but they're saying it could pave the way for new peptide-based therapies targeting drug-resistant tuberculosis, still responsible for over 1.3 million deaths each year. So peptides seemingly being one of the hottest trends in self-pharmaceutical, whatever you want to call it, that niche. Yeah, so it's like max you could make is APR amount while the actual coin went parabolic. Exactly, MG. Exactly. Which 3,000% is really good, right? There's no taking that away. What would that be monthly? Let's take the calculator up. 3,000% divided by 12. You're getting 250% a month in that staking pool. But that's going to come down pretty quickly as people put money into it. It'll equalize somewhere probably around like 700% is my guess, which is still really good. But like I said, if you, let's say it equalizes somewhere around 700%, which is a crazy APR, you would earn 58% extra per month. But if Research Hub goes up more than 58%, you don't end up making much of those gains. It dilutes the gains like crazy because you have to equalize with the other side of the coin. Now, if Ethereum continues to go crazy, you're actually making more Research Hub if you were staking it. If Research Hub doesn't move and Ethereum goes nuts, they have to equalize in that regard and give you even more APR. But I'm getting into a complicated subject that truthfully I don't know too much about because I don't usually partake in that side of stuff. The DeFi side of things, I did not really partake much in. I did a little bit and I just decided not to focus in on that section. But if we keep looking, I have more here to actually talk about when it comes to peptides. So if we come over to this post here from Innovative Bio Research. Innovative Bio Research, an X account that I've had several irritating conversations with on X just because I don't appreciate the way that they come across as if they're the only DeSci company that does anything or that actually matters. Opinions to the side, this is incredibly exciting because if you zoom in on this picture where they quote tweeted Pump Science saying the DeSci bomb goes off in 10 days, and this was 2 days ago, so on the 29th, a DeSci bomb goes off, which is what we've been talking about. Innovative Bio Research here says, what's going to happen in 10 days? Here's some clue. July 29th, be ready, with a picture of a worm and a scientist holding BPC 157. Show of hands. How many of you guys know what BPC 157 is? Show of hands, please. I'll end that poll. I'm not going to start the other poll, but we got 14 votes on that poll. So thank you everyone for watching, for voting, with 71% saying yes, ETH 4K this week. Very, very exciting bullish time to be in here. But do you still think a lot of DeSci projects get to $1 billion? Not a lot of them, but I do think that there will be some, like Research Coin. I think that Bio will get back to $1 billion. I think there will be some others that get to $1 billion as well. I'm not going to be giving any price targets moving forward though, because we don't have a crazy amount of time left in the cycle. I don't like thinking out in terms of months. I like thinking out in terms of years. And we've gotten to a point in the cycle, and I was just saying this morning in the Telegram, but we've gotten to a point in the cycle where I could see we have until December. Maybe we go into January, which means we have 6 months. And I don't like just thinking in terms of 6 months. I want to think in terms of 12 months, 18 months, 36 months. 3 to 5 years is my ideal time frame. So we got to actually start setting up for other things now. Like what's the landscape going to look like next year? Next year, I think we go into a bear market as we do every 4 years. Regardless of that, I do think we're going to see some crazy rallies, and we just got to play it by ear. We just have to play it by ear. I don't know how high things are going to go, and neither do you. And a year ago, I was happy to make those price predictions because I thought everything would play out in a much different manner than how it ended up playing out. But I asked you about BPC 157 almost a year ago. Let's go, MK. I know. I've been hearing about BPC 157 for a very long time, and I almost bought some about a month ago, but I ended up waiting for a bit. So BPC 157 is a peptide, and it is in a family of peptides that is there for enhanced ligament and tendon and muscular rebuilding. And so it is a rapid health peptide. It just allows you to heal really, really quickly. And so a lot of people in the fitness world, i.e. bodybuilders and just people who are trying to recover from injuries, will take BPC 157 in order to heal those tears and fractures and broken bones and stuff quicker. Okay? And so what Innovative Bio Research here is supposedly doing, by the looks of everything, if we put context clues together, which is not that hard, it looks like they're going to be testing it for longevity through pump science, which is incredibly bullish. I am super excited to see those results because BPC 157 is something that a lot of people take in the world, and there's a lot of excitement around it. And I would love to see some more academic literature from DeSci around a very viral peptide. If you go on TikTok, you'll see a lot of people talking about BPC 157 and BPC 159, but not as much. BPC 157 is the main guy here, so works but not perfect. Yeah, I mean, that's the case with everything, right? I tried to fix my shoulder with it. Let's go. Heard of it? Bullish, David. Bullish. Either way, this is something I could see going kind of viral because people know it. People know what BPC 157 is. And so if they start doing research with it, I think it'd be super, super cool to see. So hopefully it goes well for them. Now, if we keep looking at some more stuff, I got Rejuve, I got Hippocrat, I got Galeon, and then Quantum Biology, Dynex, Axon. And something from DeSci World. But let's look at Axon because it'll be quick. Axon out here with burn number 14, burning another 776,940 Axon tokens, which is crazy. They've burned so much. They've burned so much Axon. So, bullish. Lower supply. Should be able to send it a lot easier, which is really cool. Next up, Dynex. How many of you guys were watching the Dynex chart yesterday? Of course, we're having another large-scale sell-off today because it wouldn't be a pump without massive whales dumping on everyone in Dynex. So let's go Dynex. Dynex moved really quickly though. Very small amount of money. 2 days went up 75%. So I'm hoping that we can continue this momentum. It kind of pisses me off that people immediately just sell, and I want to know who it is so I can go to their house and shake them and be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But it's okay. It's all right. We'll keep it together. People are just scorned from it. So every time it pumps, people want to get out because they've been saying, oh, I'll get out on the next pump for the last 6 months, and it just hasn't. So I get it, but I think it's silly. BPC 157 didn't fix it, but after surgery, my shoulder is stronger than ever, and I am 1.5 months ahead of schedule. Let's go, MK. That's a huge success. That is a monstrous success. Are you kidding? If you're able to play golf with zero shoulder pain after you had a pretty invasive shoulder surgery and you're 1.5 months ahead of schedule, I think that is a massive success. And probably because you've been doing therapy and stuff. I know that we've talked about it a little bit over in the Discord, I believe, but W, good job. That's super exciting for you. Can Axon 10x from here? Anything can. Will it? I don't know. We go to Axon. It's up 5%. It's at a $445 million market cap right here. Can it 10x? Absolutely it can. Absolutely it can. If we get a really good monster rally in everything, which we already are seeing, then can Dynex go and, or not Dynex, excuse me, Axon put in a new all-time high? It absolutely could. Absolutely. Go back above $1. It never actually quite broke $1, or it did for a brief day. A brief day it broke $1 back at the NVIDIA summit. Can it go and reach new highs again? Yeah, of course it can. I think my base case for a lot of DeSci is that it will put in new all-time highs, or at least get very close to those same all-time highs. And so I think, honestly, yeah, as long as everything continues to go well and we don't have anyone rug pull the entirety of the market, then yes, I do think Axon can do a 10x from here and get back to all-time highs. Like, we go zoom in on Ethereum here to the hourly chart, and you see a very clear picture being painted. It's just continuing, it just keeps touching on these moving averages and then pushing up. And every day on average, Ethereum's gone up by $100. So this is moving really nicely. Eventually it will lose steam and have a pullback, and hopefully it doesn't happen until we touch 4,000. And I would imagine the pullback come down a good amount, guys. Don't get shaken out of it, because it will probably get eaten up really quickly, because I bet there's a lot of sidelined money waiting for a pullback on Ethereum in order to get in, because they don't want to chase pumps, but they don't want to sit sidelined forever. And especially with stuff like the stock market continuing to just push to new all-time highs, things are looking really good. And then that money just flows down, trickles down into our DeSci coins. All right, what's the next thing? Okay, C90, this one's for you specifically, but did you know that Rejuve is on Cardano? RJV, Cardano. I did not think I put it together in my brain that Rejuve was on Cardano. I definitely knew it at some point, but this reminded me of it, so I wanted to remind you guys of it. Rejuve.ai, the only DeSci play on Cardano. So if you're bullish on Cardano, you're bullish on DeSci, and you think the Cardano people, which most of the Cardano people are a little bit higher thinkers than the rest of crypto, I will say that. They tend to put a lot of time and research into things. They'll probably end up wanting to get some DeSci exposure. And if they could do that while staying in their ecosystem of Cardano, I imagine it would be a good one here. The next few months should be great. I agree. Should be a blast, guys. It is already a blast. You guys should be super pleased with the stuff that you're holding at this point. And Rejuve is a really solid project, honestly. The market cap of it is incredibly small. It is super, super small here. But it was on, I was pretty sure it was on Binance, but then they must have also bridged to Cardano. So $6.6 million market cap. It's got a lot of room to go to get back up there, but it's starting to. I thought, maybe I'm thinking of, not Rejuve, but what's that other super small one? Amax. I was thinking of Amax at a $200,000 market cap. Rejuve. They do very different things, but I was thinking about Amax when I was thinking about it. We pushing Bill this week hard or still TBA? I mean, let's push. Let's go. Let's organize something, guys. Let's push him hard. Let's push him as hard as we can. The thing, like, I've just had to focus on getting the dashboard finished, but now we're finishing it up. We're getting to the final innings of it, and so now it's time to push like crazy. So if anyone wants to help me push, all the power to us. Let's push. Let's get posts out. Let's get him posting more. Let's push him out everywhere. Shill it to everyone that you know. W for Dynex. Let's go. Let's go. All right. I don't know if any of you guys hold Galeon, but I figured we would talk about it because I saw the post and they are in DeSci. I don't cover them that much, but let's do it. NFTs are dead. Not quite. Less hype, more practical use. The real NFT revolution is just getting started. A monthly recap from Galeon. We're looking back on a busy month. We're excited. An exciting maternity care update, celebrating the second birthday, attending 3 major healthcare events. You can catch the full recap on YouTube. And then we got Juliet, a midwife changing maternity care. Juliet from Saclay is bringing Galeon into her daily routine and loving it. How's Galeon doing? Galeon, chilling at a $9.7 million market cap, down at local lows, almost all-time lows, but just local right now. Potentially gearing up for a quick shock back up to all-time highs. Who knows? We'll see how everything goes. All the spam calls I received, get a bill shill. Let's go. That's how it's done, baby. Get the word out to everyone. All the spam callers will be in on bill. YouTuber Alex Becker makes insane joke about Cardano ecosystem. IDK, if you ever seen him. Oh yeah, I've seen him. I'm concerned about what the joke is going to be because I know he's extremely crude, but he gets views. He gets all the views. I don't really care to read this one, but what I do want to show you last up here is bonfires.ai. Now, I've yet to do any actual due diligence into this. I've yet to really research into this, but DeSci World put this out. So naturally, I do want to read into it and figure out what it is. So DeSci World announced bonfires.ai, a sense-making primitive to power the future of on-chain agents by DeSci World. Achieving more together with bonfires, get a Genesis NFT at mintbonfires.ai. Now, this is their website. It's very interesting, very unique, and there's different elements that you can click on here in order to gain access to different things. So you can click here. I'm not sure. I like the idea that they're going here with the UX, but it is not intuitive. I do not know what I'm looking at when I do this, except for the mint button, which you can go mint some of their Genesis NFTs if you want to for 0.1 ETH, which is a pretty steep price if you ask me. But they're planning on having 20,000 of these. So far they've minted 21 of them, and I'd be interested to see how it ends up playing out. Historically, DeSci World has not been super interested in launching coins or tokens that are there for investment purposes. They're more so there just to gain access to communities or to gain access to knowledge graphs and stuff like that. So take it with a grain of salt. Who knows what's going to end up happening with these? And I believe DeSci World's posted different NFT collections in the past, and I've always been very tempted, but I've not ever pulled the trigger on any of them. This is interesting, and I'm going to be watching it carefully to see how it goes. It is unique, very unique art here. Color by numbers, fun. It does look like color by numbers, actually. But you can click on a bunch of different things. So locals, people, DeSci.world. You got digital cosmos, and then locals nature. So I don't know what any of them really are, but articles, I guess. You got the big five. You got their Twitter, DeSci World. Either way, it's interesting for sure. And this is my duty to keep you all informed on what's going on. And since it's in the DeSci World, I figured I would inform you all. Okay, and that's basically all I have for you guys today. So now's the time that we can just go look at whatever you guys want to look at. So let's take a zoomed in approach at DeSci and see what's moving the most. If we go on the weekly time frame, you'll see Opmentus is up the most, Poseidon DAO is up the most. Formerly Poseidon DAO, now just Poseidon. They're up 58%, which is gorgeous. We have Track up 49%. We have Dynex up 50%. We have DigiHealth up 43%. We have Data Lake up 35%. We have HairDAO up 36%. We have Neos up 36%. We have Noble up 36%, which the Discord was talking about Noble recently here. The new Noble contract, Noble V2, the chart looks beautiful. Look at that. We go in a little bit further. Look at how nice of a chart this looks. Much, much, much better than the last chart, right? No wicks down to zero. No bleed for the last couple of years. Just pure up only, which is actually going to be a good psychological tool. What price target do you think Dynex will have at the end of the year? Do you think the Apollo chip can bring it to $10? Again, I will not be giving any price targets at this point in the cycle, but I am holding all of my Dynex, still staked all of it, earning the yield. I think the Apollo chip will gain an unprecedented amount of attention on to Dynex. I don't know that it's going to come out at the end of this year. I think Dynex will put in new all-time highs, but so far I've been saying that for months and it's done nothing but go down. So I'm not going to give any price targets at this point in the cycle. I'm not interested in it. Dynex is disgustingly undervalued for what they offer, and over time the market will learn what they offer and understand the importance of it and have a dramatic repricing. When that happens, I do not know. Where it happens, I guess it'll happen on chain. Pulse Chain Treasury announces 170,000 ETH DYOR. You can verify top ETH holders. That's good for them. I'm not interested in Pulse Chain, but hell yeah. Let's keep getting people buying ETH. Let's keep going. Push the price. Push it all. 1,000% sure Apollo chip will come just as we tip into bear market again and miss the slingshot. No. Stare. How could you say that? That would be in Dynex's nature though. They'd be like, okay, we got it finished, right as Ethereum is going from like 7,000 down to 6,000. They'll be like, we did it. Honestly, it could be perfect timing though. As people rotate into altcoins, they'd be like, holy shit, look at this. I'm gonna put all my profits into it. We'll see. Either way, I have two topping expectations. My expectation, not that you guys asked right now, but I'm gonna share it anyways. I've shared it several times, but it just seems to be on everyone's radar because we're making money and everyone's afraid of making money right now. But my expectation is that when the Fed cuts interest rates, the market will top, give or take a few days. Whether that happens September 17th or October 29th or December 10th, honestly, I don't know. The closer we get to September 17th, the less likely I think it is that they actually end up cutting rates September 17th. They might end up cutting in October, which would be nice because it would give us more time to let the bull market play out. But at some point, right around one of these Fed meetings, I think is when the market tops out. It won't be happening in July because they aren't cutting rates in July. And the closer we get to September, the less likely it seems that the Fed wants to cut rates in September either. We keep having the odds of a rate cut go down quickly. Like it's up to 41% that we won't get a rate cut, whereas back a month ago it was 30% that we wouldn't get a rate cut. So those odds are going down quite rapidly. October, on the other hand, still has the majority of people thinking that we will get a rate cut. So we'll see. We will see. Let's put that line on the chart as well. We have the 29th of October. Where do you think you're going? Okay, have fun. 29th of October is right outside of the circle. But that's my thoughts. Somewhere in here. One of those red lines I think will mark the top of the cycle. And I guess we could add another one here for the December one in case they don't end up cutting rates until December 10th. That would be in line with the traditional 4-year cycle, the most in line. But one of those three red lines is market cycle top. Why do you think it will top with their rate cuts? I mean, of course, the market prices it in before we get there, but if the Fed goes into QE, then risk on should be the pick, right? Okay, it gets a little convoluted here, but that's the general accepted point of view, right? When does the market do what everyone thinks it's going to do? Never. It always does the opposite. Always. When everyone thinks one thing's going to happen, it always tends to do the opposite. That's point number one. Point number two is you have to think, why would they actually end up cutting rates? Because they've been very clear they're not cutting rates when the economy looks good. They've been abundantly clear with that. And so when they do start to cut rates, you would have to assume that it's in parallel with a weakening economy, right? Inflation's dead. That narrative's been done for a while. A lot of people still want to keep harping onto it, but it's dead. Inflation's dead. The job reports have been honestly starting to stabilize a little bit here, but they have been creeping up a little bit, which would incline them to cut rates. But you have to think, why would they actually cut the rates? And it would be because of some underlying issues. And so everyone thinks rates come down, QE starts up, we print tons of money, everything goes crazy. But I'm going to be taking the counter argument on that to say that when they do cut rates, it's because something is wrong. And so it ends up being a top. And if they start projecting to us, let's say they start projecting to us at the next meeting in July 30th that they're going to start cutting rates in the October meeting, let's just say, the market's going to start ripping in anticipation of that rate cut. And then when the rate cut happens, people are going to take profits. Now, whether it is a catastrophic collapse and full-blown recession or just a lull in the market where people take profits and maybe we go through a 6-month cool-off period like we do every time we go on a rally. Like the last rally lasted 6 months before we started putting in new all-time highs. The one before that lasted 6 months before we started putting in new all-time highs. This one lasted like 5 months. So whether it turns into just something like this and then we continue the bull market, or it ends up being the end of a bull market and we go into a year-long cool-off period, I don't know. But I do think that the local top will be in whenever they do end up cutting rates. You can also go look at when we launched the ETFs. I know it didn't last long at all, but from a trader's perspective, from a short-term period, when the ETFs launched, yes, all of a sudden we got crazy liquidity injected into the market. We got the option for that to start happening, but we fell 21% very quickly. It was like a little flash crash that corresponded with dominance, I believe, going through the roof. What day was this? January of 2024. We go back to January of 2024. Yeah. The same time that we got the ETF was the same time that altcoins really started getting decimated by Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin started rallying again, but altcoins got left behind. And so I don't know how it's going to end up playing out at all. Neither do you. We have to take it one moment at a time. But that's what I think I'm setting up my expectations for. Is just at least a local top whenever rates do start coming down. God, this chart looks gorgeous, guys. How long have we waited for this? How long have we waited patiently for dominance to break through these and look decisively like it was going to stop? Now, we do run the risk that this happens again and we get a quick pop back in dominance, right? But something feels fundamentally different about it this time. It feels different. We got the retracement all the way up to 66% in the dominance. I don't know. Ethereum this time is really just taking the show and just running like crazy. Whereas last time we got that, Ethereum was not primed at all. We go look in November of 24. What was Ethereum doing back then? I guess Ethereum was at the same exact price actually. So who knows? We'll see. What's your strategy for selling? Probably just rug pull every single project that I'm in. One massive clip out of everything. All of it. Just... No, I'm just kidding. I will not be selling 100% of anything. That's for sure. Because if I'm wrong and we do continue to rally, I don't want to be sidelined. It's much, much harder to be completely out of the market and watch it continue onwards than it is to sit through some sort of a lull. And that is after 7 years of experiencing it where I've done both. And I do not like being out of the market entirely. So I will not be selling out of 100% of everything, but I will be trimming once we get Ethereum to new all-time highs. Once we get some of these projects pushing harder, like right now they just started to bottom. But once we get things really cooking and everyone seems to be just making money left and right, that's when I'll start to slowly roll out of positions. Like we go look at the traditional stock market, and I sold early on stuff, right? Palantir, I sold out at like 130, now it's at, or 140, now it's at 153. So when I sold out of it, we just kept pushing, right? You go look at Hood. If I was in Robinhood, I'd be out of Robinhood. That is crazy. This is very, very expensive right now. Now, it doesn't mean that it can't continue to go up, but that's crazy. You go look at Roblox, Netflix, the list goes on. These companies are just, when our altcoins start to look like this, I will be rolling out of some of them. But I don't know. I'm going to take it day by day, week by week. And the last thing I want is for everyone to just panic and just fumble the end of this cycle. We've been waiting so long for this thing. Also, guys, I'm still getting absolutely cooked on the TLT hedge, which is a good thing, right? The nature of a hedge is that you don't want it to actually play out. You don't want it to get hit. Now, I'm going to end up with TLT, just for full disclosure. This is a play on when they do cut rates. And so when they do cut rates, TLT will likely go up because that's how they control rates, not directly through TLT, but through the bond market and making bonds more expensive. When they cut rates, TLT will go up and we will make money off of that hedge if you're in it. And likely the market will go down a little bit. So I will end up rolling over this position because a lot of it was calls dated for like January and March of next year that I got towards the beginning of this year. And so I'm down a lot on those. And so I will put more money into it because I do expect that this play will play out. It's just a matter of time, right? Holding till I can retire from my bags. There's no in between. Let's go, Stare. Let's go. It might go up forever to the moon. You never know. Exactly, Beagle. Exactly. And that's why you don't sell out of 100% of stuff, because what if it does? What if it does go up forever and you miss out on it? And you're that dude who bought Nvidia. What happens if this is you, you know? You're that dude back in September of 2015 who was like, you know what? I think that we're going to need a lot more computer chips moving forward. And so I'm going to buy this company that's kind of unproven, but it looks like a solid company for 50 cents. And then you fast forward a year and you're like, holy shit, I just made 300% on this thing. I'm going to take some profits because that objectively looks crazy overvalued. And then you take profits and then it just goes like that. It turns into Nvidia, you know? You don't want that. I don't want that. Ultimately, if you have a good asset, you don't want to get rid of that asset, right? You go look at Netflix and you're like, oh my God, Netflix, this is such a clean play. Netflix is such an easy stock to understand. You buy it because people like streaming services and then you just make money on it and it just goes up. I don't know. I don't know, man. Nobody knows. We just got to play it one day at a time. Netflix, by the way, just reported killer earnings and their stock is down, but it's just because it was priced to perfection. And so even if it does deliver perfection, you get people getting out of it. Pump fun. Look at this. Bitcoin down 1.7% on the week, despite Ethereum being up 25%, XRP being up 22%, BNB being up 10%, Solana being up 18%, Dogecoin up 41%, Cardano up 22%. Look at those. That is alt season. That is alt season. That will be Bitcoin and research coin. Exactly. Exactly. There's no point in getting out of something like research coin, to be honest, because if you just zoom out, when do you get back in? You know, that's the hard part. And I know it's not super hard. And if you make life-changing money, you should lock in some of that money. But like, it's easy to look at it now and be like, oh yeah, you just sell here and then you just buy right here and then you just sell right here and then you buy right there. But what happens if you sell here? You wait for it to kiss the moving average. It never does. And then you just get left behind as it goes up 400%, you know? What happens if you sell here and buy here just for it to go down even more? That's why some of these things you just hold on to. Made a solid ROI on it. Good win. Good win, MG. Good win. Haven't sold a single stock of Palantir. Bought a while back. W. Don't you think nowadays, especially stocks are way overvalued, houses are, but not crypto, alts are really utility and big use case. It should shift sometime into those assets. I think it does. I think we're seeing it happen right now, right? Stock market, very expensive compared to historical measures. Well, depending on how you view it, right? Real estate market, very expensive compared to historical measures. We're seeing, like, by some measures, you see the real estate market more expensive than it was during the housing crisis. On some measures, you're seeing the stock market more expensive than it was during the dot-com bubble. But we're also entering into an era of exponential growth for AI. And so a lot of people are justifying some of these expenses because of how much AI is going to grow. But that's a whole different topic. You go look at our altcoins, and I agree overall with that premise that the altcoins have actual real utility that they're bringing and some actual value, real value that is being brought. But because they're so misunderstood, it takes a lot more convincing and people to be flush with money before they're willing to take that risk on something like an altcoin. Despite it making a lot of sense if you do the due diligence and dig into it, a lot of altcoins make a lot of sense to hold on to. But it is a new territory, an unproven territory. People are just now, after like 15 years, starting to be okay with Bitcoin in their portfolio. Just now. So you think they're going to be willing to take a leap of faith on something that's only been out for 3 years, that is a completely unproven business model? You and I are, but not everyone else. And that's where you get some of those outsized returns. It's where you continue to hear the stories over and over again. If you bought Nvidia back when it was under $1, you were taking a risk on a company that had yet to actually proven themselves. If you bought Tesla back when it was $10, you were taking a risk. If you bought Netflix back when they were still shipping out CDs, you were taking a huge risk, you know? So you just have to be able to bet on the teams that are going to do the most work. Speaking of work, I have to go get back to work. It is time for me to go continue to push and work on the dashboard for Agent Bill. That way, in the long term, we can look back and be like, yeah, you took a risk on it, but it all paid off because Bill was able to infiltrate an entirety of a sector known as decentralized science before that sector completely took off, and we started seeing AI agents producing scientific research at a clip that is thousands of times more effective than humans doing it. You got to take that risk to make that big bread. You damn right, Wild Africa. I hear this argument this cycle, there are billions of altcoins, profit will be very difficult to make. I disagree with it, MG. I think that if you get into solid altcoins that make sense, eventually the narrative will flow into them. It's a lot harder than it was last cycle, and that cycle was even harder than it was the cycle before that, because in 2017 you only had like 100 coins to pick from. 2021 you had thousands of coins to pick from. 2025 you have thousands of coins to pick from, but most of them are pump fund meme coins. Most of them are quick flip profits that people just launch and then forget about. So you pick the teams that are doing work in every single facet, and you put your horse on it, or whatever the saying might be. But your time is your most valuable asset. Hopefully this is worth investing into. I hope you guys are positioned nicely for what's going on right now, and I hope you guys are ready to capitalize in the next several months off of what we've been waiting for the last several years. I'll see you all in tomorrow's 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live stream. Peace.